been gearing up. This was going to be my debut. Little did I know it is. Is it already over? Has it passed me by?
No, there's still more slates. They get smaller and smaller, but they're still playable right now.
Did you play it?
Okay,
that makes me feel better. I would have been so steamed if you were in there making your little lineups and didn't tell me.
What time do you think it started?
What day?
No, what time of day?
Oh, French Open. They're what, like 6-7 hours ahead of us here. I probably was like a 3 a.m. lock.
It's exactly 3 a.m.
I am a thought leader, Brian.
Wow, you would have won. You would have binked it.
That's all you need to do is guess the start time.
That's more than anyone else knows about DFS Twitter, DFS tennis. So
there we go. Yes, I am bummed. My career is delayed. I can't. What was it? The only DFS career I had that was shorter was that first night we played NBA DFS when Rudy Gobert shut it down, and I was a NBA DFS player for about a quarter and a half.
And you've never gone back. You haven't played Classic since, have you?
That I legit have not played Classic since. Have done some showdowns, but never Classic.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that one. That's like the most annoying DFS sport where you have to stay there all night long.
All night long. But you're even on these. Has it been a little easier with the playoff slates? Feel like you're decelerating a bit.
Yeah, today was no good though because the Sixers and Wizards decided to change their starting lineups. But yeah, the late scratches, they're way less.
Yeah,
the fake injuries and stuff.
And haven't teams tightened down their rotations as well?
Yeah, they tightened down the rotations. That's not necessarily great. It's but players getting scratched can be a pain in the ass. Yeah. I mean, that is where you get a lot of your edge though. So it's tough to complain too much.
Brian, do you like basketball? Do you find are you a fan when you watch?
No. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I don't know. Fine. I don't watch sports that much anymore.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the game all year, I don't think.
You like watching MMA? You are sweating MMA.
Yeah, I watched it too. Yeah.
Yeah. And you like watching some football too, right?
Red Zone.
Yeah.
And like golf on Sundays, sometimes, not always.
Yeah.
But no baseball anymore. No basketball. I like March Madness. I watch that.
Okay. I was watching. My father-in-law had the golf on this weekend, and I saw our guy Kokrak took it down, and I also saw a guy in like 6th place. Brian, this is how messed up my brain was. I saw Hoffman, and I was like, could that possibly be Noah Hoffman? And I was like, if this is Noah Hoffman and no one alerted me, it was not Noah Hoffman though.
It's Thursday Charlie Hoffman.
Any relation, do you think?
No, I don't believe so.
Man, that would have been the most glorious day of my life. Kokrak winning and Noah Hoffman in the top 10.
So like, I used to be like a huge fan, like when in my 20s and, growing up as a kid, and like when there was a playoff, situation, I was like legitimately on the edge of my seat, nervous sometimes, like too much so. But like, I'm not sure it's just gambling. It's like the idea of being a fan of your home team makes no logical sense. Like, just because you were born relatively near a stadium that no longer exists, most likely, with players who are no longer playing for that team anymore, people who run the team who aren't from the area, the players aren't from the area. Why are you wearing these people's jerseys?
And also I feel like, what a good example of what illustrates the absurdity of it is someone who's a huge fan. Let's use the Bill Simmons example, right? Grew up in Boston, diehard Boston fan, moves to LA, has kids, and like your kids in that town, they are going to like the teams that all their friends at school like. And so now all of a sudden, what, you're going to tell your kids that they can't root for the Lakers and the Dodgers because you grew up in Boston?
It makes more sense, though, logically, that your dad liked them, so you like them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was raised on it. There was all this. It was always on TV. There was always like plates and cups in the house that had the logos on it. I had like their shirts. That makes more sense than just I like the home team.
Yeah.
And like obviously there's something tribal in there. And they did this study I read years ago. So who knows if it's true? This is like a decade ago. On the Premier League, I think it was the Premier League. They tested like the saliva or something of home and away players, and there was like an increase in testosterone and in some other things when they were at home. And these players obviously aren't even from there. Well, maybe in the Premier League some of them are, but like so I'm assuming there's got to be some evolutionary biology in there. But if you sit and think about it, there's no fucking reason to get all fucking worked up over these people you don't know, right? Looks like MMA and golf's a little different. Like I think you could do this for any sport really, but definitely MMA is like just to appreciate the balls and like the sport of it, and just be like you don't even have to be a fan. You could just be like that's I would go down from like that guy fainting a punch at me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in golf too.
To me, the concept is like the tribalism element is also like putting all of your eggs in one basket. You know, Dave here saying because it's fun. For the kind of traditional sports fans I know, they don't seem to be having fun that often. I mean, unless you're rooting for like a dynastic team, like the Patriots for, the past 15 years, like you're not having that much fun. Like I've seen my Denver friends and sports fans, like, that live and die by the Nuggets. And it's like, okay, we've had a couple good playoff runs, but then like the rest of the time you're just miserable. Like to me, that you're not having fun all the time from what I'm seeing.
Like, it didn't seem like that Boston fan who threw that bottle at Kyrie was enjoying the performance of his team and Kyrie.
What do you think that like that kind of shit? Do you think that dude is that filled with rage about what's happening on the court? Or do you think it's just like, I'm a bro hanging out with my buddies and they'll think it's funny if I do this?
No, I would guess, who knows, but like, I would guess rage. Like there's no
That's crazy to me.
There's no logical reason for him to be that much of a super fan. He has no. I mean, obviously, I don't know that person's life, but your average super fan has no affiliation with the team, right? They have no stake in the company. The stadium's been gone since they were a kid. All the players they liked are gone and retired.
And the one thing that you could use to, and I'm not saying justify it, but it at least would make sense is if you had money on the game, which is the complete opposite of what we're talking about, which is traditional fandom devoid of gambling.
Yeah. I mean, not in that instant. Like, even if you have money on the game, you can't just like throw shit.
No, you can't. But I'm saying at least I would know why you were like so mad at Kyrie for ruining your spread or whatever.
Well, let's assume it is fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Let's assume it is fun. That doesn't mean you have to be the Chicago fan because you live in Chicago, or the Boston fan because you live in Boston. It should just be arbitrary, like MMA.
Yeah. Well, and then because there's the stigma, right? With the little kids, like as a kid, I liked Duke because they were on TV a lot and making it to the Final Four of the NCAA tournament. And then I got to high school and everyone's like, oh, you're a bandwagon fan, all that. I'm like, what school do you like? And they're like, I like Arizona. I'm like, why? And they're like, because I like their jersey. I'm like, fuck you. Like, we're all liking these teams for whatever reason we want.
Yeah. Right. And I think some of it's fake when push comes to shove. Like, I doubt they really care, but it doesn't make any sense to me. And it is because of the same thing you just went through. Like, I grew up an A's fan, and so everyone was a Cubs or a Sox fan here. So I just got shit from everybody. And it's like, there's no difference. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, no, but you live here. So like, I live like, do I have to root for the local burger joint like too or something? You know what I mean? Just because it's near my proximity, it's close to me.
Hang on. I feel like this comment could tee Brian up for a rant here.
I mean,
reading your facial expressions as you read that.
Sense of community. So, I mean, that's fine, I guess.
Yeah.
That's fine. Economic impact. I guess. I mean, obviously, the thing I would hate most about that, especially it depends on the city you're in, is that they take money from the residents who don't even like sports to build these stadiums.
And there's like a difference, right? Like if you're rooting for the Bears, you're rooting for McDonald's or Burger King. Like if you can convince me on like the local lacrosse team or the women's soccer team that you're like supporting local, like I can buy that argument a little bit more because they don't have the massive TV deals, the massive revenue deals. You're actually, putting money into the system that allows them to pay these athletes, whatever bare minimum they make as a professional athlete. I can buy that economic impact more there, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's more talking like more of a macro sense. Like if you have no major team in your area versus someone comes to your area, it makes, who knows, like $1 billion extra for the community. Like, yeah. Okay, that's true. That's true. Time. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not like, I would be like, you could say the same thing about an Amazon, right? Like if Amazon's headquarters comes to your town, it's going to bring a whole bunch of economic activity and tons of jobs and tons of money and whatever else. That doesn't mean I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to root for Amazon now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Hang on, Brian.
Jeff Bezos.
Breaking news. We're now a lacrosse show because apparently we get $5 a lacrosse mention here. I am going to become a lacrosse thought leader. Evan, how much you willing to pony up a month for lacrosse content, buddy? Because I recently left my job and I'm willing to talk about
it. I'll talk about it as soon as the DraftKings adds it to the
oh, that would be fun
docket. Yeah, another sport that has like 18 people playing it.
Yeah. I get to go back. I don't want to, I understand I guess the counter argument for me is I understand the appeal of traditional fandom. Like I can wrap my head around it, but my counter is I feel like you can get like all the great things about sweating a team through traditional fandom, through gambling, through DFS without all of the downsides. Obviously they're still winning and losing, but you're more at control of that experience.
And people will die by every touchdown, or like, I don't know if you have buddies on like text threads, like don't text me during the game. It's like, it's going to happen either way, dude. It's gonna, whatever happens, you have no control over this. And you know how I feel about jerseys.
I don't think go ahead. I don't remember what you feel about jerseys.
You shouldn't wear another grown man's name on your back, right? Unless it's like your family member or you're the high school girlfriend of this guy. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow. Here we go.
That's it. You shouldn't wear fucking. I'll make exceptions for like legends who are dead, like Hall of Famers or something, maybe as a little sign of respect. But you're like, if you're like 30 and you're wearing some 22-year-old dude's jersey name on your back, think about it for a second. In any other context, forget sports. Say sports didn't exist. And you're out at the bar. People are like, what the fuck are you doing, weirdo?
Well, okay. So I agree with your take, but for completely different reasons. For me, it's just aesthetics. Like, I don't think jerseys look good on people. Like football jerseys, hockey jerseys are meant to be worn with pads underneath them. Basketball jerseys are meant to be worn by men that are 7 feet tall, that shouldn't be going down to your knees. And sometimes like the soccer jerseys look decent, but for the most part, they are meant to be worn in the field of play and they are designed as such, and they don't look good otherwise. But like, to your point, like what's the difference if you're wearing like a Ralph Lauren shirt and it says Ralph Lauren, you're wearing Ralph Lauren's shirt. Like how is that any different?
Because you're not wearing like you're not admiring the man, you're admiring the art.
Don't tell me what I'm doing when I put on a Ralph Lauren shirt.
Here's two more exceptions in my YouTube. Joey says Patrick Laird. Okay, for a bit, it's fine.
Here's how I have my Patrick Laird jersey, Brian.
All right,
there. Does it look like I'm putting that on?
See, that's even fine. Without the bit, that's fine. And then Danging Wing says Vegas Dave is also an exception. That's true.
Oh my God. Yeah, I did forget I just did my randomizer show with Leone the other night. I made him put on 10 different jerseys. So yes, this is My take is all stylistically. I think the idea of collecting them and stuff is fun. I just don't think they look good, at least on me.
So you think this is a normal thing in society, just wearing another man who's 10 years younger than you, his name on their back.
Well, here's the thing.
If you took sports out of it.
This is another part where I will agree with you, because I feel like Leone's probably a good anomaly. Like, Leone isn't a tribalistic Bills fan, but in general, the jersey wearing ties into the tribalism. Like, the guy who's throwing the bottle generally at Kyrie has that jersey on and just like threw it over his polo after a day at the office.
That's what I'm saying. I'm kind of lumping this all together.
Yeah.
It's like, you have no affiliation to this team. Like, you just were born relatively near a stadium that no longer exists. And these guys are kids, and you're wearing their name on your back, which in any other context would be fucking weird. Okay, all right. That's fair. I would I could see buying a jersey of someone who won you 100K GPP or something. Yes.
See, same thing for me. I will say, like, say I won a GPP, I would definitely be down, but I would frame it. I would put it up as like a collector's thing to remind me of that moment.
Yeah. Speaking of which, and I got a Chris Paul Top Shot, and because he won my first GPP many years ago.
Wait, is that the one that we have?
Yeah. So I was all down for it because I'm like, oh, now I got a Chris Paul.
There you go. So what you're saying is you got me to subsidize your own personal fandom collectible.
I'm pretty sure it was Jack's idea, not mine.
There were lots of bad ideas back in February, Brian.
Yeah. Yes, there was.
That's
why you say not financial advice, by the way, people.
Do you know what is nice, Brian, with the bear market? You don't have to say not financial advice near as much.
Yeah, doesn't come up as often.
Yeah, I haven't felt the need to say it in a long time. Speaking of which, I mean, do we have any updates? I mean, at the end of last week, I told you, at least for my share of the Cosmic, you're more than welcome to list it. Have you been thinking about it?
Yeah, a little bit, not a ton. I've been pretty busy lately, but I haven't really thought of anything. It is what it is. I think there's no other way around it besides we're gonna either gamble that the market is gonna come back eventually, or you just basically sell now and get what you can, I think, are the two plays. And I don't think it matters that Russell Westbrook is had a great triple-double season, and his career is only going down from here. Pretty much, the guy's a freak show, and the Wizards aren't going to be winning anything anytime soon. You would imagine. So like and then it takes 5 years to get in the Hall of Fame, if that would be a bump, and all like the rational things you would consider, like, oh, this would be good for the price. It's kind of like Bitcoin too. Like it doesn't matter. Like, oh, it just dropped in half. Like none of that shit mattered.
Yeah.
Because the whole market as a whole is what, and this kind of goes with like the price discoveries thing we were talking about, whatever, a month ago or something. It's like, no one knows how much this is worth. This all this other stuff was just nonsense.
Now I'm just imagining if Elon Musk set his sights on disrupting the Top Shot market, would LeBron be the Bitcoin, and then he'd just like become obsessed with Ish Smith as his Dogecoin? He's just getting everybody to buy Ish Smith Top Shot moments.
Why'd you pick Ish Smith?
He's just like the go-to punching bag for just random moment that isn't going to have any value in 10 years. I feel bad for picking on him. I go Bruno Fernando sometimes too.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of like Ish Smith because he's more like a D-League success story. I think Bruno was a first rounder. I can't remember. But.
Yeah. The Skylar, so you're saying I won't get a massive pump on my Jokic moment after he wins MVP. I don't think either of us are counting on that at this point.
If you did take my advice many moons ago, I wasn't the only one, but buy Jokic and parlay it with the Jokic MVP. At least you get the MVP bet.
That's right.
The other part didn't turn out so hot.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, at the time, it seemed the fact that, I mean, at the time, Jokic was not locked to getting MVP. Like that was still very much up in the air. And to like hit that outcome, like, you know, say it had what, I don't know, a 35% chance at the time, 40% chance.
If that even. Yeah.
Yeah. It's still pretty sick to like hit that, you know, I don't know, 4-outer and not get anything for it.
Joey, one more time in my chat, says when he was in the fourth grade, he thought he was the coolest guy with his Ricky Williams jersey.
Yeah.
And Vic too. Vic was a stud back in the day. For children, yes, children. This is all perfectly appropriate.
What's your cutoff? What's your age cutoff?
Good question. I mean, everything seems to be at 18 or 21, right? So
okay.
Those numbers are pretty arbitrary themselves, but yeah, either one. Definitely 21, possibly 18.
Yeah. People are mad at me about my Ish Smith slander. This happens every time. There was this one guy on one of my shows that was like, Ish Smith has the best crossover in the league. And I really upset the Ish Smith stands. Maybe I need to come up with someone.
He's fast.
Okay.
Can't shoot really.
Okay.
Decent passer. Undersized.
Now, this is an interesting heuristic for this. You can have a jersey if the guy is older than you.
I mean, I think it's kind of like, remember, what's that old, it's kind of a joke, but like if you're going to date someone, they got to be like half your age plus 7 or something minimum.
I do remember that. I do.
Yeah, I think it's got to be like that. Like they got to be like double your age minus 7 or something. There's got to be a big separation, like an old Hall of Famer. That's because I got a Buckhead jersey. I don't wear it and I don't have it. I've had it for years. Like Red Grange or Thorpe or something. Something like that. It's like kind of hipsterish, maybe. Yeah. Like I could see something like that. But yeah, wearing some 22-year-old dude's name on your back and chucking bottles at players because you were born relatively near a stadium that no longer exists make no fucking sense.
Here's the thing with this rule, guys, because it seems like you guys like this rule. I'm gonna look no cooler in a CeeDee Lamb jersey than I am a Ryan Fitzpatrick jersey. Like it's not going to matter just because he's older than me. It's not changing the fact that I'm going to look like an idiot in it.
Wait, what was the rule? I missed it.
Older than you. So CeeDee Lamb, younger, second year player. He's probably what, like 22, 23. Ryan Fitzpatrick, definitely older than me. So by this rule, I would be allowed to wear a Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Okay. Yeah. See, okay. I'm sticking with my guns that it's got to be much, much further than that. Because think about it again. If you agree with the logic of this wouldn't be accepted in I'm never going to repeat that, but for the podcast people, there's a formula for when you should how you should pick your jerseys.
I keep getting older, but the jerseys keep getting younger.
If you agree with the logic that in any other situation, if there was no sports, that wearing a young man's name on your back would be weird, then it would still be weird if the player is 35 and you're 29. And I'm like, why are you wearing that? Why are you wearing Bob's name on your back, dude? Why are you doing that? Like, yeah, Bob's pretty good at basketball, but like, you're an adult. You shouldn't wear some other guy's name. Maybe his kids should wear it, or someone in his family.
Let's go further on this. Say you like if you get I mean, I already know the answer to this, but if you get invited to a Bears game, like you're not wearing a Bears shirt. Are you wearing a Bears hat? Are you wearing any kind of fandom signifier?
I just threw out a lot of Bear stuff. I used to be ridiculous. I went to a Cuse game. They were playing here at United Center with my ex-girlfriend. This is years ago. And her friends from Syracuse came up to meet me like, Bears fan, huh? And it's just head to toe, real big Bears fan, just totally shitting on me. And I was like, God, I probably shouldn't wear everything Bears.
Everyone's upset at us that we're making fun of wearing jerseys. I'll tell you, here's a funny story with that too. I recently cleaned out my basement and I have a tub of unworn Broncos gear, shirts, hats, flannel pajamas, pillows, because for the longest time, my mom, like, luckily these have tapered off, bless her soul, will send me like these care packages. And so her mind, she's like, Pete's a football fan and I live in Denver. So I will just send him constant Broncos gear. I have Broncos socks. Like, and I was like looking through this bin and I'm like, why do I have all of this Broncos gear? And it's because my mom continues to send it to me.
My mom she would always be like, "You're a Falcons fan." I'm like, "Mom, I like Deion Sanders when I was like 6 or something."
Yeah,
like I'm not a Falcons fan.
You're gonna get roasted for your pronunciation. The Falcons there too. I'm just bracing you for it.
Why? What's wrong with Falcons?
That's
how you should. Someone and just goes. What is it? Drico out? How do you pronounce that? Drico out, a guy in our Lolz forum. He says I pronounce Premier League weird. You say Premier League.
I that one I didn't get. Premier League. That's how I say it.
Yeah.
He's Irish. So is there something? The Premier League. I don't know. I don't know what they said.
We invented the English language. Okay, so
who the fuck is this guy? I knew you were gonna get roasted for that.
Well, I mean, you adding on to it didn't help.
You said it twice. I was gonna let it go for the
That's
one.
Why I say Falcons.
It's my biggest fear. There's so many words too that, you know, I've read, I know what they mean, but I've never said out loud. And every once in a while, you'll just like, all right, let's walk this tightrope and see if we can toss this word out and hope how I've always read it in my mind is correct.
It's funny, like what does get people upset and yourself upset. Like I could care less. Falcons. Like fuck you guys. I don't give a shit. That's how I say it. I think that's how everyone around here says it.
Oh, this is how they want us to say Premier. That's how all the hoity
Premier
League.
Premier League.
It's the best football in the world in the Premier League, Brian.
Premier.
Drico says, Pete, be careful next time you start your car with that kind of talk. All right, I will. I don't want to ruffle any feathers across the pond there. The most absurd Broncos thing my mom has ever sent me is Tim Tebow's biography.
Did you read it?
No.
You gotta get in there a little.
Dude, my family was obsessed with Tim Tebow, like to the point where they, like my grandpa, he passed away, but he was a, you know, diehard Broncos fan his whole life. And even he thought Tim Tebow was like the future for the Broncos. I think it was mainly just because he was a Christian, God-fearing man. But he was convinced that Tebow could do no wrong. And it was every other position on the team that was the issue.
Fantasy-wise, though, he was pretty fun for like a season and a half there.
He was. And they did have that
some season-long leagues back when that was the thing to do.
He was like he would like what pass? He was like 8 for 11 on pass attempts, but he would rush for 85 yards.
I think that completion percentage is a little generous there, buddy. Yeah, I think it was more like 6 for 17, and he would rush for 90 with 2 tutties or something. And it would probably be like 5 for 16 with 55 yards until the fourth quarter. And then he'd get like a bomb somehow for a touchdown and then rush some crazy run in.
That was his best play. It was the wild card game against the Steelers. It was the first play of overtime, and it was just a walk-off like slant to Demaryius Thomas, like broken coverage. I think he got the defense to bite on the play action, and Demaryius Thomas took it like 75 yards for a touchdown. And then we went into New England, and the spread was like 20 points, and we got beat by 35. And that was the end of Tim Tebow in the playoffs.
Do you think he could do any? This is getting into things that are really not that interesting to me, but do you think he would do anything in like the Lamar Jackson modern? Oh, we now know kind of what to do with these guys, because back then it was pretty new.
To me, like comparing. To me, Tim Tebow was like the epitome of the like dominant college athlete. I feel like as a pure athlete, Lamar Jackson is just on a completely different stratosphere.
I'm not saying that they would be the same. I'm saying like just force. Who is Harbaugh still the coach? Force Harbaugh to, you got to take this guy, play him 16 games.
And how would they do?
Would he be able to? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so even assuming how much rust he has, but yeah, I'm sure some of these better coaches, Harbaugh, Kyle Shanahan, some of these could come up with some kind of offense to make it palatable.
Because what they were doing, that was a long time ago, but they tried to kind of make him a normal QB, maybe a few more screens and stuff or whatever. And then he would scramble, just making, out of making it up on the fly.
Yeah.
Maybe they had a few run plays in there, design run plays. That was so long ago, but definitely not like a smart, complete offense like a Lamar, like the Lamar Jackson offense. And I'm seeing this in the chat here. I know he's not as good as Lamar Jackson. That's not the fucking point, guys. Clearly, you're talking about Pete's family who loves Tebow. I could care less.
You're a big best ball guy. You have all these takes on these various quarterbacks. Everyone wants your best ball strategy, Brian.
What do you think about? I was talking about in our Discord earlier. I don't have the time to play these best balls on like Yahoo and DraftKings, and like, what if we like got someone to just do it for us. Like here's an example. So like Pat clearly has no more money because he lost it all on Top Shot. So maybe he would want to get
money
Lolz.
He set you for the Top Shot moments you're going to send back to him to stake him in best ball tournaments?
Maybe until Top Shot comes back, he's got to grind Yahoo best balls for the next 2 years.
You make it sound like it's like some punishment, like he's picking up litter on the highway or something.
Isn't it though?
See, that's the thing. I legitimately enjoy drafting the best ball teams. I would not do it if it felt like a chore. It is legitimately fun to me.
It's pretty cool. I'm just kidding. It's not my type of thing, but like I totally see it. And if like I was grinding a bankroll, it sucks you got to wait the whole year.
Yeah.
But like if you're a grinder, like and you have enough money where you can still play whatever DFS or sports betting or however else, wherever else you have an edge, definitely easier than trying to beat like heads up cash games in NBA $100 or something, nowadays.
Yeah. And especially too, I mean, even I'm lazy. Like I just like playing in the big one with the $1 million up top, but in those 3-mans, there's different strategies and stuff. And best ball is one of those things where I think if you are drafting smart structurally, you might have a bad year just not hitting on some of the breakout stuff, but like you can break even in a bad year if you're drafting well structurally. And then if you do hit, you could have a really nice windfall there. So yeah, I do think best ball, if you're willing to spend the time, if you're willing to tie up your money for that long, is like you said, a nice way to build your roll.
I used to have a whole staking stable in poker back in the day.
Really?
Yeah. So I got like this, it's a long story. Like this site went under that I had like 25K on, and then a bunch of the poker players sued the site, and I was part of the lawsuit, and then we lost. But some shady dude got a hold of the rights. Hopefully he doesn't see this because he's kind of like a scary guy. He's not shady. He's totally normal. And he's like, I'll give you your own like skin on this poker network.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm pretty sure they're illegal for me to do that. And so like he gave me just like this killer rake back deal for whoever I wanted. Like we had like some sort of deal worked out. And so I'm like, well, I mean, now I could stake and coach some of the guys who show promise. And there's not a ton of risk because the rake back would be more than enough. And people don't understand how much rake costs us. DFS is way worse than poker. But yeah, so I'd stake guys, and then I'd look through since I had access to this guy, I could like look through their play a little bit.
I was just going to ask what kind of monitoring or how much was on the honor system with that.
So on that site, there was nothing they can do because if they had to cash out, I knew the owner. And so I'm like, if anyone from my site, like my thing links or whatever, tries to cash out, let me know. And then, if it's just, and then he just sends me a message and I'm like, oh, okay, that's not my guy or something. And so I would say probably like 50% of the people try to immediately screw me.
Jesus.
And I was not very picky because I knew they couldn't.
As long as they were half your age plus 7, you took them.
The name on the back, everything.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that stuff always seemed like a logistical nightmare. And then you're adding in all the elements of, like you said, you were having to train them, coach them. There was like this business aspect in a way. They're your employers. Seemed like all kinds of messy stuff that could arise from that arrangement.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. And then you kind of hope that like a few like whatever studs pop up through this and they're like, they get it. Like most people are idiots. you realize through a lot of these type of processes, it's like they're the scammers, they're dumb, they're not gonna be able to figure it out. But then there's a few like bright spots. And then even those guys screwed me. Like this one guy, he played a ton and he was a losing player, but not that bad. And that's actually pretty good. That's like even probably in DFS, pretty good corollary. Like if you're on that line, which you kind of were a couple of years ago, right? Like you were slightly negative, but not like the horrible. like that's a really good spot where if you can like probably definitely in poker, but like if you can figure it out in DFS,
You're basically even minus the rake.
You like even minus the rake, maybe a little bit less than that. There's things you could probably do to turn it around. And so I put a lot of time and effort in him and gave him like, I don't know, probably like 20 hours of coaching over a couple months. And he turned into a beast. And then so eventually he's got so much money that he could play on other sites because this site was kind of small. But I didn't have control of the other ones. But like I talked to the guy for like 20 hours and then eventually he just ghosted me.
Yeah, because I was going to say, how is there like a contract? Because the whole point, it's like once they get good enough or build enough of their role that they can stake themselves, then the relationship isn't beneficial and then you're left high and dry.
Yeah, but if you have, any semblance of honor or, if you want to work in the gambling community, it would be a lot worse for him nowadays because I could totally call him out. Back then,
put him on blast right now, Brian.
I can't even remember his name. It's so long. This is poker. Poker was over in 2011, so this was probably 2010, and you'd have like more in that way, but like to control him. But yeah, as soon as he left, like he was gone in like 6 months. But what he should have done is give me my cut, and then gone on his own. But instead, he just took it all. And there was another guy who was like a total scammer, who was like more of a reg. And so you gotta watch out even for like regs. Like you never know what someone's bankroll is, Or
I've been listening to this podcast, Exit Scam. Davis initially put it on my radar. It's from the guy Aaron Lammer. He had a crypto podcast, and he's done a lot of different podcasts. But it's about do you remember the Canadian Bitcoin exchange called Quadriga?
No, it's never gonna go.
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't remember the story the first time around, but this guy ran off with over 250 million of user funds, went on his honeymoon to India, and then was reported dead because of stomach poisoning in a hospital.
Right. I know what you're talking about now. There's a podcast for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just like, it's now going back through of all the ways this guy had scammed people his entire life. And it just like listening to those stories you were telling about the poker guys, it's just like some of these people, like that's just what they were born to do. They were born to hustle for money, and they're going to take any kind of scam angle they can.
The guy who scammed me, I talked to him on the phone a few times, pathological, no doubt in my mind. Like, even like, because he didn't know that I was basically like part owner of the site. So he didn't know the data I was getting on him eventually. And I think what he was doing, this is so long ago, it's hard to remember. I think what he was doing was making 2 accounts and then playing himself and dumping money. And did I get it back? I don't think I got that money either. Someone was asking what the site that went under was called Pokes Poker. And it was on they had a lot of, the European sites had a lot of weird names, and it was on the 888 network, whatever. It was one of the bigger ones.
Yeah. Well, coincidentally, the episode I just listened to today of the exit scam is not only was he, basically using new deposits to pay out old people who had already tried to pull off their money. He had like 4 or 5 dummy accounts on his own exchange and was basically just free rolling gambling with his users' money, and had lost a shit ton of money on just shitty trades on his own exchange. It's like not having access to everyone's keys and being able to run away with the money whenever you want. That wasn't enough. I also need to have dummy accounts to just trade with your money. It's wild.
Maybe he was trying to trade, and if he banked that, he wouldn't have gone. What's interesting? The guy who owned that poker site, Canadian dude. The story was like, I think like his dad was rich or something. And he was like, it turns out he was like in his 20s.
Yeah.
And his dad gave him a stake, and he ran the site like shit. Not like ultimate bet bad. But yeah, bad enough. And then that happened that happened when it was either UIGEA when that was passed, or when NetTeller pulled out of the American market. I can't remember. This is old school poker stuff for for the super nerds.
Clairvoyant knows how to get the show topics going here.
I'm the one who got ripped off all the time, Clairvoyant. And no.
Do you think in general, Brian, that you are just like an overly trusting person, like to a fault? Like, do you think you're naive about some of those situations?
No, I don't think so. Like the original staking idea was on a site where I had like almost 100% control, except for the dumping. But even in the dumping scenarios, I could possibly get it back because they could call the network head, because it was just a skin, and get that money back. So I'm like, there's no way I can really lose, because as soon as they try to cash out, I just ban them. Maybe, I mean, I don't think so. I could be wrong.
That's true. This is Brian. You have been jaded, but then you met. Go ahead.
People are some of my favorite people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who are your favorite people, Brian?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, all my friends have been like my friends for like 20 some years.
Yeah.
Like almost all my friends. Yeah. So it's all the same people. I mean, but all I do is like listen to podcasts. Like I love listening to people and hearing interesting people. I just don't like dumb people and scammers and fucking shamers.
What are shamers?
And regulators.
You just start listing off every possible people.
People who won't leave you the fuck alone.
What? Yeah, if you had a MySpace profile and you got to put 10 friends in it, would I be in your top 10, Brian?
Yes, definitely. You'd have to be top 10.
By default or by choice?
Because there's only 7 total.
What I mean, we met online when quarantine started. I mean, I feel like we got to do a golf trip or something at some time. I know you hate traveling though. That kind of puts a wrinkle in things.
I said this in our Discord. I got the that Yahoo Vegas trip if you take first.
Wait, so I saw you say that and I couldn't tell if you were kidding, like it was like a promotional offer. You won a Vegas trip?
Yeah, they've been doing it all year. Like if you take first, you get a Vegas trip. Like they give you $5,000 worth of stuff or something. And I just got the email. I swear I've won way more than one on there of those things, but they don't do them every day.
Does it allow you to take the cash value?
Is post it to that YouTube guy who shit on me because I was trying to dissect what he meant, and I'm like, oh, he probably plays on Yahoo. He has no idea that I don't even give a shit, and I'm just putting in one lineup.
Oh, now I know the guy who left a comment on your video.
Yeah, I posted it on Twitter.
Wasn't it? That was like an old video, right?
It's pretty old. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So hey, wait, tell me about this Vegas thing. Can you redeem it for cash, or like how do you redeem it?
Let me look. That's a good question. I didn't even think about that. Maybe I could just take the money.
Brian got screwed over a lot, but if he didn't get screwed over, he wouldn't have met his best friend forever, RBX88. RBX88 would be your number one.
See, RBX88 won't screw you. Like he'll pay. I'm assuming he'll pay your debt. He'll pay his debt.
I do not like the last thing in the world I get from RBX88 is scammer vibes. That dude's the I'd bring him home for dinner with my family. 5,000
in MGM resort credit that can be used towards the following until June 30th, 2022. Hotel, food and beverage, nightlife, entertainment, pool, cabana rentals, spa, but does not work towards the following: golf, merchandise, gratuities, and gambling.
Okay. So you can basically go and ball out with food, drink, or wait, did it say alcohol?
It says food and beverage.
Okay. And all right, that seems like, so you just basically have to pay your own flight out there and have some of your gambling money.
Yes.
I think we're going to be going out like mid-August. I'm going to be out there for a few different things. You should come out.
Mid-August, maybe. Actually,
no, it's nice.
I was planning on taking a vacation in August, actually.
Yeah, where were you thinking of going?
Just golf with my buddies. Just run an Airbnb and like a bunch of golf courses.
Nice.
but we haven't locked that down yet.
You deserve a vacation, Brian.
I haven't taken a vacation ever
in your entire life.
I think so.
What?
No, wait. Okay, yeah, I have not. Yeah, with that, not with exes and stuff like that.
Okay, but you're still. When was the last time you went on a vacation?
2008.
Brian.
I went to see the Bears play the Chargers.
Okay. And so you don't feel like, I mean, there's two things for me with vacations. One, there's something to look forward to. It's fun to break up the monotony of your regular schedule. And two, as a way to decompress and recharge after hyper-focused long stretches of work. Neither of those appeal to you?
I went to Vegas, now I'm remembering, in 2012 or 13, actually.
Wow. You're actually just a big vacation hound is what it sounds
like.
Oh,
I went last week, actually. I took a vacation. No. Did you ever hear about like that, like how your memory compacts, your brain compacts memories?
Yeah.
Right. So like if you take the same subway to work, to the same spots, eat lunch.
Yeah.
It seems like every day is the same. And why then you go on vacation, it breaks up because your brain's just like, this is all the same shit. Let's just shrink it all down. And then you go on vacation, they're so memorable because it's such a different thing than your normal routine.
That's the entire thing of memories. Anything we remember is because it breaks the monotony of your routine. Like if you got in a car accident, the reason you're going to always remember that is because you drove that way on your commute or whatever every single day. Nothing ever stood out to register. Everything condensed, like you said. It's just that one day that something random happened is the one thing you remember.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. I would say there's probably more to it. Like you don't remember like 2 + 2 = 4 because the first time you
No, I mean I'm talking about experiences from your life. Because I've had that too. I was thinking about it the other day. Like, you know, I lived in probably 6 or 7 different buildings in my span living in Boston. And for some reason, there's this one year that I lived in this apartment and I can remember like 4 things from the entire year. And it is so weird. Like there's all these small details where I'm like, I don't even remember getting dressed in my room. Like I can't remember one single specific thing. I'm like, did we eat at the table? Like it's so bizarre because it must have just been so much of the same thing that nothing stood out in a way that I remember it.
I have trouble remembering being like less like under 12 years old. Like I don't remember. I have a ton of memories that stick with it.
Yeah,
I was thinking about like people you haven't seen for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like you kind of have to be a little bit older to even think like this. But I was thinking like I don't want to see them. Like I want to remember them as being young. Like I don't want to see them now like old. You know, like people from high school or college you haven't seen in so long. I just want you to stay that age.
I forget. I feel I might. Hopefully, I didn't tell this story on this show last week. I might have mentioned it, but I got a photo from my parents of one of my high school classmates and one of my buddies, and he now works for Animal Rescue in the city. And my parents had a stray dog in their yard, and my friend Jared was the one on patrol that came and picked it up. So I get a photo of my high school buddy Jared with my dad and a stray dog in our yard. And I hadn't seen Jared for a long time. He has multiple kids now. And it was just like this weird thing, like you were saying, where it's like, this is like a time capsule of my life from back home. And it was legitimately jarring to see this photo.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Or like an ex-girlfriend or something. You know, like we're like you're like a mom now. That's not how I remember you.
You're not on. I can't imagine you're on Facebook. Were you ever on Facebook?
Oh, I'm on. Yeah, I'm on there. I just haven't. I haven't accessed it, and I don't even know how long.
I can imagine you just posting a storm on there, sharing all these Donald Trump memes.
Pepe frogs and shit.
I go on like legitimately once every, I don't know, 6 months or so. And I always have like 50 invitations. It's like, you know, like this random, you know, cupcake shop that this girl you went to high school with started. I'm like, I can't do this. I got to get out of here.
I have no idea what it's like. It seems awful. It does.
Yeah.
Like with Twitter, you're kind of like, me and you had this conversation long time ago when I referenced Whitney Cummings, the comedian, when she was on Rogan, and she said, like comedy, like for her growing, becoming a comedian, she's like, comedy's not for friends and family. And that like, and it like stuck with me. Like, I think there's a lot of things like that. Just like not, I mean, it can be obviously, but like, I think it's probably better to think of it that way. Comedy, music, even shows, or like if you're starting some new entrepreneurial career somehow, like a lot of times, like could you, like if you music, I think is the obvious one, because like someone like, oh, no, that sucks, dude. I don't like, I don't like that style or something like that. It's like, but yeah, but you could probably have 100,000 followers on Twitter. You're so talented, but like you would never know. Like people who know you, they don't give you the same amount of respect and stuff like that. Or maybe they've seen you grow as a comedian or guitarist, and they don't think it's impressive.
I was always the same way. Like when I started doing improv, like a common thing when you're doing your class shows is like, no one's paying to go see students do improv. So everyone brings their friends and family. And I mean, like Lauren would come to mind, but I was like, I didn't want any friends and family. Like my fear is like my in-laws coming to watch me do improv. Like that's the last thing in the world I want. You, like you said, you just want this separation of church and state in that regard.
And that's what made me think of Facebook and Twitter, like the difference. Like Facebook is like your friends from high school and college or something, or your parents' friends, and like what I mean? Like your grandma follows you or something.
Yeah.
And Twitter is like, I'm just posting to random fucking people, just mostly just joking or something. Who knows what it is? And like if someone responds to that I know, it's like weird, almost in a way. It's like, you can call me.
Like, it is weird.
Known each other for a long time. You can you can email me, you can text me, you can call me, and it's like, this isn't for you.
Yeah,
like this is for the thousands of strangers who follow me. You're probably not even gonna get it. It's not for you.
I remember I had that epiphany. I had gone to college and I came back for my brother's graduation, and my mom spotted this girl that I went to high school with, and she's like, Pete, there's Jenny. Like, you should go say hi to Jenny. I was like, Mom, Jenny and I are Facebook friends. Like, we could have talked to each other anytime over the past 2 years, anytime we wanted. And we both decided we don't want to talk to each other. So like, I don't know why now it would make sense for me to go talk to her when we both mutually agreed we have the resources to talk, and we've decided not to do that.
It's a different world in a good way. I think in a definitely a good way. Because if you were like a musician in the 90s or something like that, and like your friends and family were like your feedback, like that could be a serious problem. Like, where else are you going to go? And it's so easy now to put it online, monetize it, get it out in a ton of different platforms, and not have to just fucking go to college and get some stupid job and work for some fucking dummy.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I'm so happy that you quit your job, man. Not working for someone is one of the greatest pleasures. It really is. Just to be able to tell everyone, go fuck yourself. I love it. I fucking love it. I love being a gambler, like that part of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, someone's like, oh, I don't like you. Yeah, well, you can suck my balls. How's that? You know what I mean? Like, try to do that, you know what I mean? But at work, like in person, I'm a completely nice person to everybody. And like at work, I would be totally pleasant. But like, but it's the fact that I have to do this.
Yeah.
It might be my personality, but goddamn, I never wanted to work for someone. And I always thought they were dumber than me. Like almost every boss I've ever had, almost every teacher I've ever had. Like I hated school. I hated the structure of it. Like, and because of gambling and the internet, like I could get out of that fucking rat race.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the reasons I don't take vacations, because I'm like, oh, fucking, like I got lucky here.
Yeah. And you feel like you have to push those edges until they dry up, kind of thing.
And that's because of poker too, because I didn't, when you're young, you're stupid. You don't see the future. And I had no clue what the government was, capable of back then. Wasn't even in politics. And I just thought, you could just take 6 months off and then come back and play poker.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, no, they're going to take that shit away.
I do think the stuff with being anonymous right now is interesting because I feel like in the traditional fantasy football world, everyone is like branded on their name. You have your photo, you could look everyone up every which way. And then you notice a lot with the crypto communities, the NFT communities, tons of Anon accounts, tons of people that have built like brands around their NFTs that they own. And like, that's their online identity. I think it's just an interesting shift too, where like, there's lots of these people where a lot of what the NFT stuff has been funny because I'm like, did I know you before? Like, are you from DFS and you've just done a full on NFT rebrand and now you're an ape avatar and have some funny name? Like, part of it is kind of weird, but part of it is nice that avenue is possible for people to still be a part of communities, but in an anonymous way.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why this is reminding me of like that band Gorillaz, the old, from a while ago, or even like Kiss, like, fake make it, like different personas or something almost, that you don't really know what they look like. I love all this, and I can't wait for the next young kid to come up and figure out how to decentralize YouTube and Twitter and make it seamless and monetize, and so you don't even need them anymore.
Yeah,
and like we have to, like, someone's got to figure this out, like because they will never leave you alone. The people who want to get involved in your life and tell you how to live and what you should do and what's wrong and how to shame you in the state, and in some of these companies, they will never leave you alone. It's not going to fucking happen. And the only way we can get to this point of you're your own person, you're your own boss, is through these avenues that never existed before. And it's all new. It's all brand new. All this stuff is, like we were talking about before, like we basically all lived the same life from 1950 to 2005 or 10.
It is funny you say that too, because I wish there's so much you look at, I don't know, take the DeFi space right now or the NFT space, and it's like a million similar types of NFT projects. The DeFi, it's like how many different kind of yield, collateralized loan farms do we need? Can we get someone working on the decentralized, platforms? And I know there's like prototypes and some stuff up there, but nothing anywhere close to where I could realistically be like, I'm going to leave YouTube or leave Twitter to go do. Like we're nowhere close to that. It does seem like, can we get some of that brain power, like you said, the next kid? But all these guys are like, well, I could just go make, $1 million on some DeFi project. I'll probably just go do that.
But even DeFi can help us.
Of course it can, but it just seems like there's so much of the same thing. Like I don't see the clusters of people trying to build the new social medias.
And who knows, maybe it never happens. That would suck. But like, we have no idea what it's going to look like. We've talked about this before. Like, if you were in 1985, you had no idea that our greatest geopolitical enemy, Soviet Union, was going to collapse in a few years. You had no idea that the internet was coming.
Yeah,
we have no clue. I was thinking about this. I was watching Club Top Shot, and I was just thinking, like, I wonder if they did I wish they did the opposite. Like, they didn't listen to like the rent seeking stuff, and like they made it even more profitable. Like, what would have happened? And I was just thinking about this Henry Ford quote that I don't think he ever said it, but it's attributed to him. Was, if I asked the customer what they wanted, they would have said faster horses.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, the customer's always right is like just some stupid saying that it generally doesn't mean anything. And like these innovators, like, we don't know where they're going to come from. We don't know how it's going to happen. You just got to stay the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, I do really wish Top Shot would have, like, you were doing so good. Like, why?
I can't talk about what broke Top Shot again another night. It exhausts me every time we have that conversation, but people sure love having that conversation over and over, Brian. That's what I have learned.
Yeah, I'm forget Top Shot then. I'm just saying,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, like the idea of like thinking, okay, that these guys are in DeFi space, so they're not going to go and come up with the next decentralized thing. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
Like we have no idea where it's going to come from and what it's going to look like. But hopefully it happens. And hopefully, because if like the state does get locks down on like DeFi, like, because it seems like I was talking to my brother about this today. AMC's going insane again.
Yeah.
So that might buy us more time from the legislators locking down Bitcoin, crypto. They might go back and focus on GME and AMC. So we might get another 6 months or a year before some bullshit legislation gets passed. But like you could see and I know there's a lot of speculation in the DeFi space, but you can see what happens when there's not all this crazy regulation. Like how much money you could be making in your savings account, right? When there's competition for your dollars and how and where to invest them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You could see it because there's no red tape, there's no bullshit, right? There's no like 6 companies who run all of it. And then when they want something changed, they lobby and you're sitting at home.
Yeah. Yeah, because the upside is not worth it for the people knowing the amount of hoops, the rigmarole, all that stuff that they have to jump through just to have a chance at the upside.
Yeah, it's basically over at this point. It's basically like people never talk when they talk about monopolies, like, oh, you can't have a free market because monopolies. It's like, why doesn't anyone talk about JP Morgan Chase that's been around forever? Like Sears was considered a monopoly. They're defunct. Walmart was considered a monopoly. No one talks about them anymore. Amazon's hurting them. It's like, but the banks, no one fucking mentions. And the reason they have a virtual monopoly or like whatever, a duopoly or whatever, like the credit cards, Visa and MasterCard have like a duopoly essentially, is because they use the state to moat off competition. And they have for years. So it's like you could make a hot dog stand and compete against the other guy's hot dog stand.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to be able to compete against, I guess I shouldn't say never, because Bitcoin might be able to make a lot of their services obsolete. They might bankrupt the whole country before them with printing money and giving it to JP Morgan. Not you. You'll never see a penny of that shit. But they hopefully they don't bankrupt the country before then.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good note for a typical winding Lolz episode to end here. We alienated everyone by saying it's dumb to like teams and wear sports jerseys. and then we ended up here. Brian, any final plugs here?
How about it's not dumb? It's just not logical. Okay.
It's not. Everyone should do what makes them happy. I was more pushing back that traditional fans don't often seem that happy to me.
And I'm totally fine with someone saying, I know it's not logical, and I just still want to do it, and I enjoy it. I have no problem with that whatsoever, just for the record.
Guys, if you're watching on the channels, subscribe. We got the audio link that goes up every Wednesday night if you want to check that out in podcast form. Anything else going on in your neck of the woods, Brian?
Same old. Go Falcons.
Go Falcons. Go Premier League. Love that football over there in that Premier League. Lots of good footy over there. I am hopping over to ship chasing. I got Pat Crane, Mike Leone. We're going to talk more best ball. Brian wouldn't give his best ball secrets tonight. Maybe Leone and Pat will share theirs.
My 2 horses? My horses in my stable, hopefully.
Your horses. That's right. Pat has to get unstuck on Jason Tatum. All right, guys. This was fun. We'll see you guys next Wednesday. Peace.